Okay, boys and girls, here is our review of the beginning of chapter 9, fractions, adding and subtracting fractions. All the fractions we're going to deal with today that we're going to add and subtract all have the same denominator, okay? So this is just a little review because we did all of this prior to going out on quarantine. So when you have two fractions, let's say 2/10 plus 4/10, okay? Those are the two things that we're going to add up. 2/10 plus 4/10. The very first thing that you do when you're asked to do anything pretty much with fractions is you're going to look at the denominators. And if the denominators are the same, easy street. All you have to do is then add the numerator. You bring over the denominator and you add the numerator. So 2 plus 4 equals, right. But you're not done here because you have to look at this. This is what you have to remember from chapter 8. I told you you can never forget anything that you learn in mathematics because it's going to come back at some other point. Sometimes right away, sometimes it takes a little bit of time. So we learned that we had to simplify our answers. All of our answers from that day forward had to be in simplest form or lowest terms. And we said that lowest terms and simplest form were the same. They meant the same thing when you're talking about fractions. So I have to ask myself, is there a number that is a factor of 6 and is also a factor of 10? We want the biggest number that will go into 6 evenly with no remainder, and the same number must also go into 10 evenly with no remainder. So if you think about, we'll start with the smaller number, the numerator. The factors of 6 are 1 times 6 and 2 times 3, and that's it. 1, 2, 3, and 6. So those are the only numbers that could possibly be used to simplify this fraction. Now we know we can't use 1 because if you divide anything by 1, you get the exact same answer again. So, and every single number has 1 as one of its factors. Are any of these other factors, 2, 3, or 6, also factors of 10? And what I mean by that is, can you multiply one of these numbers by some other number and get 10 as your answer with no, just 10 even? And really the only one, 3 won't go into 10 because remember our rule for divisibility. You add the digits, 0 plus 1 equals 1. Is 1 divisible by 6? No, it's not. So we can't use 3. And we can't use 6 because we already know 6 would only go in here one time and there would be 4 left over. So the only number we could use is 2. So if we divide the numerator and the denominator by the same number, it has to be the same number, and you want it to be the largest number that'll go into both of them evenly. 6 divided by 2 equals 3, and 10 divided by 2 equals 5. Now your fraction is in simplest form because there is nothing else besides 1 that will go into 3 evenly and also go into 5 evenly. The factors of 3 are 1 and 3, and the factors of 5 are 1 and 5. So it's in simplest form. Now the same thing happens when you're doing subtraction. Let's say we're going to do this we'll do it backwards. Let's say we're going to do 4/10 minus 2/10 equals something. So we first check to see if our denominators are the same. Yes, they are the same. So I can just come over here and put my denominator in my answer. Now I'm going to subtract my two numerators. We're not subtracting our denominators. We didn't add them here. We're not going to subtract them here. And besides which, we can never have a denominator of 0 anyway. So 4 minus 2. 4 minus 2. And 4 minus 2 equals 2. And you bring it over your same denominator. Notice the denominators are the same going all the way across. Now, what is the biggest number Is there any number besides 1? And if there is, what is the biggest number that will go into 2 evenly with no remainder and also go into 10 evenly? Well, you always start with your smallest number. Your factors of 2 are 1 times 2, and that's it. 1 and 2. Now, we cannot use 1. We've already discussed that. We cannot use 1. So the only choice we have is 2. Will 2 go into 10 evenly? Absolutely. Can I multiply 2 by something and get the answer of 10? Absolutely I can. So I'm going to divide both the top and the bottom by 2. The numerator and the denominator are going to both be divided by 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1. 10 divided by 2 is 5. And whenever you have a fraction where 1 is the numerator, then you know it's in simplest form. Unless it's 1 over 1. Okay, that's it. You have to simplify your answer. Notice that I circled each of my final answers because I did some work here. So when someone looks at your work and you want them to know what your final answer is, we circle it 3/5 and 1/5.